When a boy got lost in the forest, he stumbled across an old, abandoned car. Inside, he discovered something so shocking it would change his life forever. Nate Simons was a boy who thrived in the great outdoors. He loved exploring, hiking, and immersing himself in the beauty of nature. It was his ultimate escape. His family shared his passion for adventure. While some families enjoyed board games or beach trips, the Simons family preferred loading up the car and heading to scenic hiking trails, whether in forests, hills, or mountains. One weekend, eager for a new experience, the Simons family decided to explore a forest about 100 miles from home. They packed their gear, piled into the car, and set off, excited to discover the hiking trails they had heard so much about. None of them had ever visited this forest before, adding to the thrill of the journey. The drive took a few hours, but as they turned off the road and into a small parking area at the edge of the forest, they immediately knew the trip was worth it. Excitement buzzed as they unloaded their hiking gear and backpacks, ready to venture into the trees. With no fixed destination or plan in mind, their goal was simple: explore and enjoy the wilderness. Before diving into their adventure, though, they had one task to complete: setting up a campsite. After walking for just half an hour, they found a clearing near a stream where Nate helped his mother and father set up tents and prepare the area. Soon enough, they grew hungry and decided to split up to explore the immediate surroundings near the campsite, hoping to find some fresh mushrooms to pick and cook. However, Nate got carried away as he walked. He was too busy enjoying the scenery and watching the birds and small animals scurrying around. Eventually, he realized the campsite was no longer in sight. He was lost. Screaming at the top of his lungs, Nate shouted for his parents, but there was no reply. Would Nate ever find his way back to safety? Trying to calm himself down, he thought about the best course of action. Suddenly, it hit him. He would try to retrace his steps. If he could follow his previous path, he might find his way back to the campsite. As he walked back in what he thought was the right direction, Nate was surprised to come across an old, abandoned car. He was certain he hadn't passed it before. It was hard to miss. Since it was getting dark, Nate decided to wait inside the car in case any wild animals appeared. Sitting quietly in the car, trying not to panic, Nate suddenly heard a voice. It was his dad calling his name. The voice was faint but unmistakable. Nate leaped out of the car and shouted back, hoping his father would hear him. After a few minutes, he heard footsteps approaching. When he finally saw his dad, he ran to him and hugged him tightly. He thought he'd have to spend the night alone in the car, but thankfully he was saved. Relieved, Nate was also eager to tell his father about the car he had found just behind the bushes. He led his dad to the old rusting vehicle, and together they marveled at its vintage look. Even in the dim light, it was clear that the car had once been a classic beauty. They promised to return the next day to take a closer look. The next morning, Nate and his dad made their way back to the car. Inside, there wasn't much interest in the rear seats or the footwells. However, when they checked the trunk, they were really surprised. Beneath a few old shirts and some rusty tools was a large metal box. There was nothing particularly special about the box, but something about it drew Nate and his dad's attention. It had a padlock on it and some text carved into its side. Wiping away dirt and rust, Nate's dad squinted to read the writing. It said, "If you find this box, please take it to the address below." Below the message was an address and a date -1995. Nate's dad recognized the address as being just a couple of miles away. They debated whether to open the box or take it directly to the address. Nate pleaded with his dad to return it to its rightful owner, but both were curious about what was inside. They decided to open the box, see what was in it, and then deliver it to the owner. The lock was so rusted that it broke off easily. When Nate's dad lifted the lid, they were both stunned. Inside the box were several bars of gold, sparkling golden jewelry, photos of a man in military uniform, and several military medals. It was an astonishing discovery. Nate and his father could have kept everything and made a fortune, but Nate was an honest boy, and his father respected his decision to return the box to its rightful owner. Back at the campsite, they told Nate's mother about their find. She too was shocked but supported their decision. Within an hour, they stood at the doorstep of a small, run-down wooden house, the address carved on the box. When an elderly woman named Mia answered the door, she looked confused. Nate and his father explained their story and showed her the box. As soon as Maya saw what was inside, she broke down in tears. She picked up one of the photographs and through sobs, explained that the man in the uniform was her late husband, Jeremy. Years ago, Jeremy had inherited a substantial fortune from his grandfather, gold and jewelry that his father had coveted. To keep it safe, Jeremy had hidden the treasure deep in the forest. Tragically, just a week later, Jeremy had died in an accident and his car, along with the treasure, was never found. For years, Maya had searched for the car, but with no success. Overwhelmed with gratitude, she thanked Nate and his father endlessly, explaining that while the gold held little value to her, the photographs of her husband were priceless. Despite Nate's objections, Maya insisted he keep the gold as a token of her appreciation. While Nate couldn't bring back her husband, he had given Mia something just as meaningful: closure. In the process, he and his family also stumbled upon a fortune that would change their lives forever. I'm keen to know your thoughts on this story, so please don't hesitate to share your insights in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video and found it engaging, I invite you to subscribe to our channel for more similar content. Feel free to share this video. Take good care of yourselves, and I'm excited to connect with you in our future videos.